I was talking to a fella who had made the move from California to Florida, and he was telling me that Florida is much better governed, safer, better budget, lower taxes, all this stuff. And he's really happy with the quality of life. And then he paused and he said, by the way, I'm Gavin Newsom's father-in-law. So
The great red state versus blue state debate. Or as I have started to refer to it as, Slimeball versus Meatball. Battle of the balls. What we had here was the Democrats using a debate with Ron DeSantis to try and convince the public on the Biden administration. They sent their best political messenger, the surrogate president, and I've got to say, Gavin Newsom has got some balls going into the lion's den with Sean Hannity as the moderator, or otherwise known in this context, Ron DeSantis' tag team partner. Hannity played a good role with his fact-based questions and controlling the debate, but also letting it breathe, as he repeated about 1,000 times.
Needed, let the debate breathe as needed.
To be critical though, I did think he was setting up Ron DeSantis with every topic for him to knock it out the park. So on balance, Ron did a decent job, but with Hannity's help. It took two of them to combat his slick talking style, but Newsom did have one moment of Biden brain.
The last guy you want to talk to on the immigration.
But otherwise, Gav came prepared and stayed pretty calm through all of this, helping Ron to do the same.
Again, Ron, relax. I can handle it. I'm used to bullying. You're nothing but a bully.
You're a bully.
I understand that.
But from what I saw, Ron DeSantis came across as the more genuine character, using facts to get his point across, whilst Newsom used emotional blackmail and identity politics, as always.
3.9% unemployment, the lowest black unemployment in American history, the lowest unemployment for Hispanics in American history, the lowest unemployment for women in 70 years, the lowest black poverty rates in history. That's this administration.
We all know in debates like this, the person who wins is the person who is able to get the most viral clip the next day. So we're going to have a look at some of the highlights, and feel free to keep score if you want. If you didn't watch this debate, it was all framed around people leaving California in search of a better life in other states. Kind of like a reverse gold rush, if you want. Anyway, this is Hannity setting it up.
Our questions tonight will be coming from well-sourced, fact-centered perspectives, and you will see and hear most of tonight's questions will deal with the most fundamental issues. As we speak, there is a phenomenon. It is playing out across the entire country. Americans, they are leaving blue states in droves in favor of red states. You can see numbers on the screen right now from the years 2021 and 2022. These particular numbers are stark.
California has more natural advantages than any state in the country. You almost have to try to mess California up. And yeah, that's what Gavin Newsom has done since he's been governor. He's the first governor to ever lose population. They actually at one point ran out of U-Hauls in the state of California because so many people were leaving, locking kids out of school while he had his own kids in private school in person. Now, what Biden and Harris and Newsom want to do is take the California model and do that nationally.
Address the issue. Can you explain this migration out of California and going to red states? Blue state?
Well, hold on. You mean the last 2 years, more Floridians going to California than Californians going to Florida? No, Sean, there are profound differences tonight, and I look forward to engage them. But there's one thing in closing that we have in common is neither of us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
Gav and Ron both dropped some decent burns on each other in their opening statements. Anyway, let's get on with showing you the highlights of each of these two balls. Ron's up first.
Map of San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting? Well, this is an app where they plot the human feces that are found on the streets of San Francisco. And you see how almost the whole thing is covered, because that is what has happened in one of the previous greatest cities this country's ever had. Human feces is now a fact of life, except when a communist dictator comes to town. Then they cleaned up the streets. They lined the streets with Chinese flags. They didn't put American flags there. They cleaned everything up. So they're willing to do it for a communist dictator, but they're not willing to do it for their own people. I can tell you this. I would not go to China and grovel in front of Xi like Gavin Newsom did. He says China's a partner on climate change. China's adding 2 new coal plants every year.
So what Ron's talking about there is the recent trip Gavin Newsom's had to go see Xi. You can see them stood together discussing all things communism. Anyway, let's crack on.
What Gavin Newsom wants to do, what he's doing in California, what Biden wants to do nationally is government-dictated green energy policies. They want to kneecap fossil fuels and reliable energy. We've already seen what's happened in California. They have rolling blackouts. He actually implemented a mandate to buy electric vehicles. So pretty soon in California, you're not going to be able to buy a normal car, only electric vehicles. And they celebrated that as like a great thing. A couple days later, there was a notice from the state government telling all EV owners, do not plug in your EV because they don't have enough grid capacity.
I see Ron was very excited to share this one and remind Gavin about his failure on the EVs.
In California, if you're a parent in Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina, your minor child can go to California without your knowledge or without your consent and get hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and a sex change operation, all without you knowing or consenting.
This probably hits quite hard. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of parents are worried about this. I've seen parents online blaming Gavin Newsom for their child's transition. Obviously, I don't really know firsthand about any of that, but I'm sure it will have been recognised by people watching. Let's continue. It looks like we're going to be talking about similar things about the certain books in school.
And everything should be age appropriate. I actually have something that I brought that some parents have objected to. So this is a book that's in some of the schools in California. Florida, this is not consistent with our standards, called Gender Queer. Some of it's blacked out. You would not probably be able to put this on air. This is pornography. It's cartoons. It's aimed at children. And it's wrong. So
what we saw there was a cartoon that Ron had prepared, hopefully not from his own collection, of a rather graphic image of animated figures performing sexual acts. Anyway, I think that's enough of that.
When Californians come to Florida, one of the things they'll say, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. They can go to the store, get toothpaste off the shelf, pay for it, and leave, because in a lot of these places in California, everything's under lock and key because they've basically legalized retail theft. They have chosen in California to put the interests of the criminals over public safety. They are on an ideological joyride to let people out of prison early, to go easy on them. Heck, your buddy, Gavin's buddy in Los Angeles, Gascon, he doesn't even prosecute. When I was in Southern California for the Reagan debate, a lot of the women tell me they have to take off all their jewelry just to be able to go shopping because otherwise they're going to get mugged.
So this is coming off talking about the violent crime statistics, which is funny because there's about twice as many, I think, in California than it was in Florida. But if they don't prosecute the crimes, how many is it really? That's what I was thinking when I saw it. But, don't live there. Oh, this is the next one. We've got to have another look at this one. It is an absolute burn from DeSantis. It's probably the best part of the whole debate. He's probably cursing his in-laws right now, but it's worth it. We've got to have another look.
I was talking to a fella who had made the move from California to Florida, and he was telling me that Florida is much better governed, safer, better budget, lower taxes, all this stuff. And he was really happy with the quality of life. And then he paused and he said, by the way, I'm Gavin Newsom's father-in-law.
Boom. Roasted.
So we do count Gavin's in-laws as some of the people that have fled California and come to the state of Florida.
Right, we're going to move on to a couple of Gavin's highlights now. There's not many. That might be of my bias, but he did have some good points. These first two are probably not really great points, considering he is boasting about how much money the Biden administration is willing to spend. I mean, that's not an achievement. Anyone can do that. But he seems to think it's a step in the right direction.
That's this administration's agenda. And by the way, as you smile and smirk over there, you should know this, the American people. Here's a guy who celebrated Bidenomics just this week, celebrating $28 million that came into your state because of the CHIPS and Science Act. You're trolling folks and trying to find migrants to play political games to try to get some news and attention so you can out-Trump Trump. And by the way, how's that going for you, Ron? You're down 41 points in your own home state.
Oh, I'm sure that one burned, Ron. But, Trump will be the nomination.
On the issue of immigration, Joe Biden put a $14 billion immigration package up.
There's that money spending again. $14 billion. Sure that'll help.
in front of Congress, 2,300 border agents, as well as custom officials, 1,000 new law enforcement officers to deal with the fentanyl issue. And by the way, that's a major issue in your state, 41% higher overdose rates than the state of California. Immigration policy can best be described as a governor from the state of Florida going into another state, the state of Texas, lying to migrants, promising them jobs and housing, sending them to an island, Martha's Vineyard, and then sending them to a parking lot in Sacramento, California. I met with those migrants that you lied to under false pretense. That kind of gamesmanship, using human beings as pawns, I think is disqualifying.
I think we can see from this clip that Ron DeSantis was quite uncomfortable with him talking about this. It was a political stunt, and he might regret it of the personal sort of impact it had on the people who he was using as like a pawn to show the issues with their immigration policies. I understand why he did it, but it could definitely be misconstrued to some people.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. We're near 50-year lows, down 55% violent crimes in the state of California from the 1990s. And I want to compare and contrast that with the issue in Florida that you didn't mention, and that's the murder rate.
So Gavin Newsom talked about the murder rate there in Florida in some of the cities. This was kind of debunked by Sean Hannity on the spot, saying that those stats he came up with were actually including the murders. So, it might be a lie, might not be. I guess you can decide. That's what we can do now. We can decide on facts.
Ron DeSantis signed the most extreme anti-abortion bills in America. He signed a bill banning any exceptions for rape and incest. And then he said it didn't go far enough and decided to sign a 6-week ban before women even know they're pregnant, Ron.
Right, so this is going to be a downfall of the Republicans in the next election. We all know this. I think that they need to ease up on this, however much their backers of evangelical Christians believe in it. I think it's just going to alienate too many people. The abortion at 6 weeks, it is very, very strict. We've got to have a look at this one again. So this is Newsom reminding Ron that he will not be the Republican candidate, and reminding everyone that he will not be putting himself forward. But I think we all know that if anything mysterious will happen to, or maybe not so mysterious, if anything happens to Biden, Gavin Newsom will be the man. And hopefully we don't fall for another slick talker like Obama, but that remains to be seen.
Sean, there are profound differences tonight, and I look forward to engage them. But there's one thing in closing that we have in common is neither of us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
And what will you say?
Joe Biden will be our nominee in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, say it again. He will be the nomination. He will be the nomination. He will be the nomination. Say it again. Keep saying it. It might come true.
In a matter of weeks, Sean, he'll be endorsing Donald Trump as a nominee for the Republican Party.
Right, this is Gavin Newsom saying that Ron will be bending the knee to Trump in a matter of weeks.
All rulers demand that people bend the knee. It's why they're rulers.
Which I think he will lose to Trump, but I'm not sure he will be endorsing Trump after he coined the name Meatball Ron, which I have so kindly taken up as well.
Joe Biden is in the pocket of the teachers union, and so is Kamala Harris. That's why they fought school openings when he came in there. When they had that in
Ron, it's Kamala
Biden came
Harris,
into office
Madam
and he
Vice
brought in the
President,
teacher union to be able to do all these different things.
Shame on you, Ron. It's Kamala. Kamala? Which one did he say again? Right, so that's it from me. That's what I picked out as the best and the highlights from this debate. I do respect them both for doing it. And I think Ron did win, but, it was all in his favour, and Gavin Newsom was putting lipstick on a pig.